Just play the damn thing.
So, in my bombastic return to YouTube here a couple of weeks ago, I received a comment from a viewer. Let me share with you what he said. Congratulations on everything, Robert. Very happy for all the good things going for you and sincerely hope it continues. More than likely, it was a congratulations regarding my new daughter. I'm super stoked to have you dropping videos again. Just a random question for you. What bands / artists are you listening to on a daily basis? Can't wait to see your upcoming videos. Thank you very much for leaving that comment, and I got to thinking about that particular question, and I gotta admit the first thing that came to my mind was, wow, what a fantastic reason for a new video. So I decided to sit down here and share with you exactly what artists I actually happen to be listening to on a daily basis as of right now. Most guitar players, musicians in general, and people in general, this can change as quickly as tomorrow. But as I sit here recording this is a pretty solid representation of everybody that is on my current playlist right now. So in other words, when I get into my car and I plug my phone in, this is who I'm listening to. Number 1, Metallica. Big surprise here, right? My all-time favorite band. You guys know this is my all-time favorite band. I've said it over and over and over again. I love their new album, 72 Seasons. I really enjoyed their last album. Hardwired to Self-Destruct. I even went and saw that tour from the front row. I posted a video on that several years ago. You guys know how big of an influence that they have all been on me. Most recently, when I got to acquire this bad boy, thanks to my inspiration from when I was a teenager, from Kirk Hammett. Number 2, Five Finger Death Punch. Yes, you guys are, if you follow my channel, you're probably also aware that I am a huge Five Finger Death Punch fan. A lot of metal fans seem to hate that band for some reason. I don't get it. Near as I can tell, it's another one of those bands that people seem to hate based out of pure jealousy because they become very successful, and I love them. I love their guitar tones. I love their riffing. I love their lyrics. I love everything about them. Matter of fact, the profile picture of me on this channel is a picture of me and Zoltan Bathory and Jeremy Spencer from when he was still with the band, when they came into Guitar Center back in my Guitar Center days for a meet and greet. And again, you can look at me in that picture and see how much younger I was and how long ago that was, because it was over a decade ago now. Regardless, I'm a huge fan of that band. I listen to them all the time. I love them. Fun fact, I also have wanted to start a Five Finger Death Punch tribute band here in the Indianapolis area, but finding takers for that has not been real easy. Number 3, Kenny Loggins. This one might surprise you because, believe it or not, yes, I do actually listen to other genres outside of hard rock and metal, and Kenny Loggins is certainly well outside those genres. He's a well-known pop artist and pop musician, and he's probably best well known for his the soundtrack songs that he recorded back in the 80s, specifically Top Gun, Caddyshack, Footloose, all those those famous soundtrack songs to those huge, extremely successful movies were Kenny Loggins. The dude is a brilliant musician. He's got an amazing set of pipes on it. Great songwriter. I'm a huge fan. Number 4, Sons of Apollo. This is another band that I've talked about a lot on my channel. This is a super group that came out, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, I guess. Probably more than that now. They are a super group consisting of, and I'm going to read this because I don't want to get it wrong, Ron Tall, a.k.a. Bumblefoot, on guitar, Derek Sherinian on keyboards, Jeff Scott solo, playing acoustic guitar and specifically vocals, Billy Sheehan on bass, and Mike Portnoy on call it drums. I think he would probably prefer you call it percussion. And I think it's that that last one. They kind of remind me a lot of Dream Theater, and is probably because of Portnoy's influence on the whole thing. But they have a lot of that really progressive type of influence. Prior to listening to Sons of Apollo, I had no idea that Ron Tall, honestly I don't know how it's pronounced. I had no idea he was that great of a guitarist, but he's absolutely up there with Petrucci's and the Vais and those guys. He's amazing. Everybody in that band is absolutely amazing. They did 2 records. I can listen to both of them from front to back and not skip over a single track. Matter of fact, they were one of my favorite bands to listen to while cutting the grass. That sort of thing, because I could listen to the entire album without having to skip through an entire track. Unfortunately, because of their other schedules and their other commitments, they had to call it quits, so they stopped at 2 albums. But I definitely recommend you go check out Sons of Apollo, because they are an absolutely amazing fucking band. Number 5, Testament. You guys all know that I'm a huge thrash metal fan, but for some reason, growing up on thrash metal, I managed to skip over Testament entirely somehow. My apologies to any members of Testament. I don't know how I managed to do that, but I did. But I recently got into them here about a year and a half or so ago, and now I really, really enjoy them. So I've spent the last year or so making up for lost time, and I listen to Testament a lot. Number 6, White Zombie / Rob Zombie. I believe it was Alice Cooper, who himself is known for a very, very elaborate stage show. I've seen him live, and it is, in fact, very elaborate. I believe he described a Rob Zombie live show as every drop of ink in a tattoo parlor coming to life. I've been a fan ever since the very first White Zombie album came out in 92, 93, something like that. The first time I heard Black Sunshine was... I was hooked, because I was not a fan of the grunge scene that was suddenly getting popular at that time, and this was something totally different. This was like actual metal that I could get behind, and I've been a fan ever since. He's put out a few clunker albums. I'm not gonna pretend like I drive around town listening to Educated Horses. I don't, but most of the other records of his I do really, really enjoy. He's also one of my favorite artists to go see live. They're a lot of fun to go see. And John Five has been his guitar player since about 2010 or so. So a lot of the later stuff has John Five's musical influence on it. Number 7, Alice in Chains. I know you just heard me say that I was not a fan of the grunge era of the 90s, and that is absolutely true. However, Alice in Chains came out a little bit before that, and while they were certainly at the heart of the whole grunge scene, them and Soundgarden sounded way different from everybody else, and they were a lot more akin to the metal stuff that I was more into. They didn't sound as much like Nirvana or Pearl Jam to me. And Jerry Cantrell went on to become one of my all-time favorite guitar players, because I think the guy he just has a very, very unique talent to be able to play something really simple and make it really profound. Go listen to the solo on their song "Wood" for an example of what I'm talking about. That is an amazing guitar solo, and there's nothing complicated about it. Number 8, wrestling entrance themes. If you watch my channel for a while, this one may or may not surprise you, but there's actually a lot of wrestling entrance themes that I really, really enjoy listening to, believe it or not. Particularly being as big of a WWE fan as I am, the guy that wrote most of their entrance themes for probably 25 years was a guy named Jim Johnston. And he's an absolutely amazing musician, and when you think about what he's writing and the tones that he's employing, specifically with how they tie to the character that song is made to go with, it's pretty unique talent. And what you may not know is, prior to him, back in the 80s, the guy that was doing it was, wrestling fans probably know who the Mouth of the South Jimmy Hart is. He was actually also a musician and was doing writing most of the entrance themes prior to Jimmy Johnston, and also later on for WCW. So a lot of those great entrance themes. Yeah, I know a lot of the WCW ones were total rip-offs of Nirvana songs, but still some of them were kind of cool. And some of the others that weren't rip-offs of other songs in WCW I thought were also cool. So yeah, I like wrestling entrance themes. I got a whole playlist on my phone for them, actually. Number 9. Speaking of wrestling themes, I also like to listen to wrestling podcasts, because there are sometimes I'm just not in the mood to listen to music. Sometimes I'm not in the mood to be around guitars or anything related to it, so I will actually drive around and listen to a wrestling podcast. I really enjoy some of the Conrad Thompson wrestling podcasts. I listen to Grill and JR quite a bit, and 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff. Those are probably my two favorites. I enjoy going back to listening to all of their stories, over the history and course of their careers that they experienced from their perspective. It's just interesting to me, being a fan of pro wrestling for most of my life. And it's especially for, if I'm sitting down doing something for a couple hours, it's good background noise, and it's just relaxing to me. Number 10, Ghost. When Ghost first came out, and I was, I saw the graphics and the album covers and the T-shirts and all that kind of stuff, and I was real skeptical and didn't really have much interest in it. And then finally somebody sat me down and actually put some of their music in front of me, and I was like, okay, this is not at all what I expected it to be. And find out most of it was very, very heavily influenced and sounds an awful lot like most of the stuff that I grew up on. And a lot of it sounds like sounds like thrash metal, or sounds like Kiss, or all that kind of stuff. Plus, but it's also got the theatrics to it to go with it. And over time, I have just grown to I've grown to love the band, and I listen to them all the time. I love their music. I love their musicianship. I love their I even enjoy their lyrical content because yes, I know a lot of it is satanic, but number one, a lot of it is also historical in nature. A lot of it is about history and philosophy. Albeit from a very dark perspective. Their entire album Prequel is all about the bubonic plague, for example. It's really, really thought out. Their live show is excellent, and and kind of the whole backstory behind all of the different versions of Papa Emeritus that has been portrayed over the years is really, really cool and really unique. And nobody else has ever done anything like that. Ghost are a great band. And I wish I had a thimble full of that guy's creativity. Number 11, Disturbed. Dan Donegan is has become another one of my favorite guitar players. I just really enjoy listening to all of their music. It just kind of touches a very certain spot of that adrenaline push that most other bands can't get to with me. And his, Dan Donegan is, he's a great guitar player. Now he's probably as regarded for, his guitar solos as anything. But for me, it's his rhythm guitar playing and his songwriting that really, really, I find to be amazing. He does different rhythms and stuff like that, and different. He just does things different from everybody else. Let's sit down and listen to him, and it's just not what would come natural to most guitar players. And it resonates with me. Number 12, Iron Maiden. Come on, do I really have to explain why I listen to Iron Maiden? They're one of the greatest metal bands of all time. Though it is worth noting that at pretty much any given point in time, Iron Maiden could very easily be swapped out for Judas Priest on this list. And honestly, I don't know why I didn't put them both on there. I put Iron Maiden on there because I've been listening to Iron Maiden a lot more recently than I have Judas Priest. That's the only reason. Number 13, Motley Crue. Yep, I know a lot of you hated their most recent single. I personally didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was pretty unique, and now with John 5 as their new guitar player now, you can certainly hear John 5's influence on their new songwriting, and apparently a lot of that song, if not all of it, was written by AI. I'm not real sure how I feel about that, but regardless, it is what it is, and you can certainly hear it, regardless who wrote it. You can certainly hear his influence in their music nowadays. But prior to John 5, I've been a Motley Crue fan ever since I was a little kid. Going all the I don't remember not ever being a fan of Motley Crue. Dr. Feelgood's by far my favorite record of theirs. Their self-titled album, though, that with John Corabi on lead vocals, that one may be a close second. If you haven't checked out that album, that one is generally a favorite among guitar players because Mick Mars' guitar tone on it sounded amazing. And it was quite a bit different from all their other stuff. Motley Crue doesn't like to acknowledge that because that was a period of time when Vince Neil had been fired from the band and was not with them at the time. But fans don't forget about it because it was such a great record. Number 14, OTEP. I heard a local cover band playing an OTEP song, and I went and checked it out afterwards, and that's how I got into this band. You know, their stuff is really, really political, which I'm not always in the mood for, admittedly, but I really like the guitar work and the songwriting behind it. Their guitar tones, really uber down-tuned, real heavy stuff. That just one of those things. Sometimes it's just a unique guitar tone that will draw me to a band. Unique guitar tones and riffage, and that's what this band is all about. Number 15, Michael Jackson. This record right here is what got me into music. This thing came out in 1982. I remember it, I'm old enough to remember it playing all over the airwaves, all over the damn place. You couldn't go anywhere without hearing Michael Jackson on the radio. Now, my mother was an aerobics teacher when I was growing up. And, she had a giant, still does have a giant LP collection, all from this era. And, while I'm not a real big fan of vinyl records these days, at the time that's what we had. And she got me into a lot of music back then. And I don't know there was any other inspiration, for me to get into music prior to listening to Metallica anyway, than this guy. This is the number one selling album of all time for a very, very good reason. I still listen to this and a lot of other Michael Jackson records today. So that's it, because you asked. Those are 15 bands that I listen to on a daily basis as of this recording. I said, ask me tomorrow, you're likely to get something totally different. But for now, this is what it is. When you get in the car to go drive around your town or wherever it is that you're going, drop a comment below. Let me know who you're listening to. Adios.